This is Raptors postgame on Sportsnet 590 The Fan and Sportsnet.ca. I'm J.D. Bunkis. He's Donnovan Bennett. We think we're on Sportsnet.ca streaming. We haven't been given a link yet.
Are you going to be okay? Are you going to be okay after this loss?
I'll be fine.
We're going to have to talk through it?
Well, we are going to talk through it. We're going to be here for an hour to talk through it. Raptors lose 117-106. Los Angeles Clippers. That's 2 straight losses to the Clippers. And something that's plagued the Raptors over the last few games, especially against weaker opponents, has continued, which is they haven't looked like the group we've been used to all season, where they're bringing that same level of intensity from tip-off to finish. And even when they've had players that have had these types of lulls, as we were just talking about with Roger Lajoie, usually somebody has it. Tonight, didn't really feel like anybody had it. Happy birthday, Kyle Lowry. Your Villanova Wildcats advance to the Final Four, but your Toronto Raptors lose again.
In fairness,
117-106.
He always loses on his birthday, so we
Does he?
should
You have his record on his birthday stats?
We should have expected this. There's 2 ways to look at this. We are interested to hear how the fans feel. SN Raps is the hashtag. Get us on Twitter, either our individual accounts at Donnovan Bennett, at JD Bunkis, or you can call 1-888-666-0590, 1-888-666-0590. 2 ways to look at this. Bad trend. They're starting to struggle defensively. Some shots that used to fall from the perimeter aren't falling. Or, listen, there's 8 games left. They know they're going to be the number 1 seed. They've only lost 4 times since the All-Star break. The sky isn't totally falling. Let's just take a deep breath. Where on that ledger, before we go to the calls, where on that ledger are you?
I don't think anyone stops believing in the Raptors whenever they win a basketball game. This is the straw man. Let's not straw man.
Well, they didn't win the basketball game.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. When the Raptors lose, there's this pushback from fans that I get whenever you comment on something you don't like, which is, the Raptors are fine. The Raptors are a great team. You're not going to win every single game. Of course not. Of course not. Of course not. But this is a team that has been struggling defensively lately. And at the beginning of this game, you thought when they went out to a 27-9 lead that things were going to be a little bit different tonight, that they got the memo, that the defense as of late over the last 5 games was not going to be up to snuff. Again, this is a team that's been giving up over 115 points a game over their last 5, and teams have been shooting over 50% from the floor and 43% from 3. Like, that's pretty unacceptable for a team that's supposed to be number 1 in the Eastern Conference right now. And I'm not saying you want to peak before the postseason, but I do think that you want to be playing better than this right now. And again, if you just look at the performers from this game, that's 4 of the last 5 games where DeMar DeRozan has shot under 40% from the floor. He has not looked very good. Serge Ibaka's terrible month continues. The guy has been just dreadful from just about everywhere on the floor. And one of the guys that you've always had, Kyle Lowry, he just didn't have it tonight. And the one dude you did, Jonas Valanciunas, got into foul trouble and limited his minutes. So pretty tough to find positives from this one. We'll discuss it again. Your tweets at JD Bunkis, at Donnovan Bennett. Use the hashtag SNRaps. Give us a call at 1-888-666-0590. We'll talk it out, whether or not you're at all worried about the Raptors' recent stretch of play. Again, I'm not overly concerned. I think that the Raptors will be fine. I don't think that this changes the ceiling of the team. Of course not. That's not the issue. But there are starting to be some holes with this team that are showing up with, I would say, their wing. I would say with some of their defensive consistency that are at least little markers right now.
I think it's human nature. I think it's, as much as we say how professional their approach is and what a good job Dwayne Casey for the better part of the season has done to get them ready to play, and their calling card has been a team that, come hell or high water, is going to compete every night. I just think it's human nature that you're not going to be able to get up for a Sunday 6 o'clock game against the Clippers when you know that they're playing for their playoff lives and you're not, and you're the number 1 overall seed. And I think the next 5 games will be more of a testament to if this team is playoff ready than the one we saw tonight. They've got the Nuggets, a good team who's going to be,
in the same spot.
Except
for ahead of the Clippers, who are actually dead in the water. They're not making the playoffs this year. It's over for them.
If you let me finish. Then they've got Boston. Then they go back to Cleveland. Then they've got the Celtics. And then they've got Indiana. You're playing a bunch of teams in that stretch who you're going to see in the playoffs, who you should get up for, who that tape is going to matter because it's going to be referenced in 3 weeks and 4 weeks and 5 weeks when you're playing playoff teams. I will take more from those games. Then they finish the season with a road trip to Orlando, go and see Walt Disney, then Detroit, a chance for Raptors fans to take over another city, and then they finish against Miami, a team that they probably will play in the first round. So I don't expect either of those teams to show anything in that game. I think the next 5 are really interesting based on the competition. I don't take much from this game because of the competition.
The competition, you just said, is fighting for their playoff lives.
Yeah,
that's a team that you should be trying to measure yourself against. And again, I don't get the conversation about the Raptors being locked into their seeding, because that's true. We know that the Raptors are going to finish first in the Eastern Conference, barring a disaster. The Celtics are going to be without Kyrie Irving. They're going to be missing. I don't think that the Celtics are going to be able to catch them. Again, it's going to take a disaster for it to happen. But if I'm the Toronto Raptors, I don't know what's so hard about being able to motivate them with, hey, do you think that the Golden State Warriors are going to make the NBA Finals? Do you believe that you are a team capable of making the NBA Finals? Because right now you just fell 2 losses behind them in the loss column, and they're in a spot where they don't have Steph Curry. They're not going to have Draymond Green tonight. They're not going to have Klay Thompson or Kevin Durant. The Warriors are vulnerable. You should be trying to leapfrog them so that if you do end up in a finals, you have home court advantage because you've been the best home court team in the NBA. This whole idea that the Raptors have nothing to play for doesn't make any sense to me. They should be wanting these wins. They shouldn't be showing up on a Sunday and not playing well. You already had a game where you lost to the Cleveland Cavaliers on an ESPN, a nationally televised game where you didn't play any defense. And again, no, there's some excuses for the team. It's been a busy schedule for them lately. They've had a lot of games. It's going to ease up over the next couple of days. But I really don't give a team any excuse of, oh, well, these games happen for you. When, again, you still do have lots of things to play for, and you've already had some really lackadaisical efforts over the last few weeks. Like this has not looked like the same Raptors team for now 4 or 5 games. And I wonder if some of these habits of falling down to bad teams are starting to catch up to them late. Again, doesn't change the ceiling of the team, but it's not anything that you want to see at this point in March, especially, again, another game where Serge Ibaka struggles, another game where DeMar DeRozan struggles. I want to see those guys heating up at this time of the year heading into the playoffs, not cooling down.
I don't know if it's an excuse. I think it's psychology. I just think that it's tough to expect them to take this game as serious, although they should.
Sure, but that's 4 of the last 5 games, Donovan.
Yes, and their seeding hasn't changed in that time span. Listen, every player in the NBA is getting paid millions of dollars. They should all try all the time. They should all give max effort. But we know factually that's not what happens. And so I'm not necessarily surprised. And we'll see over the next 5 games against real competition where it could impact seeding, or at least those are teams that you are going to measure yourself against. We will see if the effort or lack thereof continues, and if it is a blip or it is a trend.
Yeah, the most concerning thing to me again tonight that I'm going to hammer home is that the Raptors generally, they've had nights where guys don't have it, and they've been able to pick up the slack because they're a ridiculously deep team. They go 12 deep, depending on how you feel about Norm Powell and Lucas Nogueira, or 11 deep. But as of the last few games, it seems harder and harder to find those guys who are giving you those good minutes, and that the Raptors have had to go to Lucas Nogueira in a couple of these spots, and maybe they even should have tonight, because I thought they could have used him for a couple of those minutes against Boban early in the fourth quarter when the Raptors started sliding on that 14-0 Clippers run. Just, yes, again, not a sky is falling, but another tough one for the Raptors. Where do you want to start today? Because, again, I thought that you had some early signs of encouragement from OG Anunoby. He was pretty solid at the very beginning of the game. Still has that little bit of Bambi element to him on defense where he doesn't look fully coordinated, like he's a puppy. You know, when you watch a puppy run and they're a little too fast for their coordination. I still feel that way when I watch OG Anunoby. But offensively, he was playing with a little bit of confidence tonight. He knocked down a 3 early on. He was finishing around the basket. The Raptors drew up some plays for him, and they gave him a few extra minutes. And I wonder if you like that idea, because for me, I'm very encouraged by those signs of life from OG Anunoby. And if he's going to play that way, I think that you have to reward him with some more minutes and try to see what you can get from him heading into the postseason. Because, again, you're going to need him.
Yeah, a spot that you could have used him late, although I'm not sure he would have been able to do anything to extinguish the fire that was, the Clippers offensively. But you could have used them late on Lou Will just to give him a different look, just to show him some length. The issue is he's not really giving you much offensively at this point. We saw signs earlier in the game, but he's not someone who Dwayne Casey is trusting down to help offensively. The interesting thing, and we talked about it a little bit pre-show, and it's an ongoing conversation with his team, for me was the birthday boy, Kyle Lowry. He was if you had to pick one of the few players who was engaged, it was Kyle. Turns 32. He actually talked earlier in the week about the fact that he wants to play until he's 40. I know you have some strong feelings about what this season means for his contract moving forward. And you feel a bit more comfortable now given the fact that he's still playing at a high level.
I was never really concerned about Kyle Lowry's deal from the get-go. I thought that, yes, you did pay him a little bit for past production, but $100 million for one of the league's best guards and arguably the Raptors' most important player was no problem for me. I think that a lot has been made about DeMar DeRozan's ascension, and for good reason, but Kyle Lowry to me is still the engine that drives this team. If you were going to ask me going into the postseason, who's the guy the Raptors need more, I still think it's Kyle Lowry. I still think that the shooting he gives you, the defense he gives you, the rebounding he gives you, just the general hustle plays and the way that he permeates throughout the team are still a little bit more important to you than having a DeMar DeRozan that's on point. And I think that you've seen that over the last few games when Kyle Lowry has been good. And again, DeMar DeRozan has scuffled a little bit lately. But it's strange because he's having another excellent season. He's 32 years old. He's got the 8th best PER amongst point guards. He's got the 5th best rebounding rate and should be 4th because Ben Simmons counts as a point guard. He's 10th in assist ratio amongst guards who have played 25 minutes a game. He's had another excellent year, and this is all with him breaking his own three-point record, shooting around 41% this year. So he's 4th in most attempts in the entire league, behind only like James Harden and Kemba Walker, like guys who are just incredible volume shooters. And again, shooting 40%. He's had an incredible year, and I think that with this rest, what we're seeing is that Kyle Lowry's probably going to extend out a little bit more, that he's starting to look a lot better at 32 than I think we would have anticipated when he was first a Toronto Raptor. And I'm growing in confidence in terms of seeing him over the next 3 seasons or the next 2 seasons anyways, as the Raptors starting point guard and a guy who continues to be the engine of the team.
Yeah, I actually think DeMar is actually more valuable. And I think them struggling over the last couple games is a great example where you can have games where Kyle plays really well, keeps you in a game, but if DeMar doesn't have it offensively, they really struggle to create their own shot. And that's what DeMar does. He hits tough shots when he can't create a shot. I will say this. I was skeptical of Kyle and this contract. I thought it was a nice compromise to meet in the middle as far as term and number. I felt both sides could feel good about the decision. I wouldn't have felt good about it if he got close to 200, which is what Steph set the market at as far as point guards last summer. My issue with Kyle was this. At this time of year, March and April, he hasn't been available. He hasn't been healthy. And when he was healthy, he wasn't playing explosively. 2015, to close the year, he missed 11 games with a bad back. 2016, he missed 4 games with the elbow bursitis that took him out of the Washington series. 2017, missed 18 of the last 22 with his wrist issue with the whole golfing gate at the All-Star break. Wasn't himself in the playoffs either. This year, he's only missed 1 game, and it's because of a scheduled rest day. I think Kyle Lowry is super valuable. I think his contract is not just good, it's great. And I think the reason is because of the ascension of DeLon Wright and even more so Fred VanVleet. They have been able to take the keys to the car at times and bring his minutes down over 5 minutes per night, where at the end of the year, he looks like his legs are arguably the best on the team, and you feel good about him going into the playoffs. I think Fred VanVleet's going to make himself some money this offseason. I think whatever he gets offered, match it, because his value is making sure the money you gave to Kyle is good money.
Quick note on Fred VanVleet. He's shot more threes this month than he has all year. His confidence in that area seems to be blooming again at the right time. Shot, with this game now, 59 this month. He's, I think, 67 of 149, if I updated that correctly. He's been shooting the ball great. They're going to need him to continue to shoot the ball that way. Again, he hit a huge 3 late in that game, but Lou Williams just went off. Lou Williams did one of his old, I'm just going to do a Lou Williams thing here. I'm going to hit all these step backs. If I'm going to go to my left, I'm absolutely going to score on you. And as tough as that is, and as much as you accept the fact that Lou Williams, when he gets hot, is just going to burn you and he's going to beat you, I thought it again exposed something that's a little bit of a problem spot for the Raptors, which is you don't have that reliable stopper who can do it both ways. I love Fred VanVleet. Again, I love the spacing that he's providing you as of late. I like his defense. If you remember back to that Nets game, not the most recent one, but the one before that, where D'Angelo Russell was absolutely cooking the Raptors in the first quarter, their solution was put in Fred VanVleet, let him get busy, and just get right up in the face of D'Angelo Russell, and it completely derailed his entire game. I'm not going to – I think that Fred VanVleet is a very, very good defender despite his size. The problem is if you're bringing him in to be your stopper on a guard late in a game, his size still does present you with some issues. Throughout the course of an entire game, there's no question that he's going to be able to be effective, that he's going to be able to force some turnovers, that he's going to be active on defense, that he's going to draw some fouls, that he'll be able to, again, provide you something on the offensive end in a steady play, a secondary ball handler or a third ball handler with DeRozan and Lowry, and some spacing because of all that shooting. But to have him out there to try to defend Lou Williams, I think it's, as much as it is a confidence nod towards VanVleet that he's going to be with him step for step, it's also a sign that the Raptors, the guy they thought who was going to be their late game stopper, Norm Powell, has not been reliable. And that, as you mentioned, OG Anunoby hasn't been good enough on either end to provide you with that. And as good as Fred VanVleet is, and as good as his footwork is, and as good as his determination on defense has been, he's still going to be giving up size. And if a guy like Lou Williams gets even a little piece of space, he's going to be able to knock it down or have a pretty clear look at the basket. Because, again, Fred VanVleet's still only 5'10", no matter how he shakes it.
Yeah, I think Fred was in there more for the offense and the fact that you were down 10+.
But then why not stick with CJ? Because that's who they subbed out. They were looking for both. And he presents them the best option of both worlds.
Well, because Fred, as a ball handler, allows Lowry to come off screens, allows him to get into the lane and create and drop off the ball to the bigs for an easy bucket in the paint. I think he diversifies the offense in a way where Lowry can be in attack mode and coming off screens of late, Kyle has been as good, if not better, than anyone else on the team. So I think offensively playing those two guards together is what Dwayne Casey was looking for. The fact is it didn't matter because nobody could stop Lou Will on the other end. Lou Will gets in a mode where he's playing and he's listening to six-man in his head. Like he's just playing. He's like, oh, really, Masai? You're not going to call me on July 1 free agency? Okay. I'll show you what's up.
Yeah.
Vendetta Lou Will is a scary Lou Will.
You got to admit, though, there was some buzz for Lou Williams around the trade deadline. And again, it didn't really work out. It was mostly pushed by fans that he was the name that was being floated around. He's popular here, a player who won Sixth Man of the Year, who's having a terrific season. But ultimately, it just didn't work because of salaries. It was just very tough for the Raptors to do. They would have had to give up way too much in terms of value. Again, this team doesn't even have their first-round pick. Couldn't eat it up. He couldn't just absorb his salary. They're a cap team, and they don't have any bad contracts to swing the other way. But yeah, he was a little harsh. He was a little harsh tonight on the Toronto Raptors. There's no question about it. Maybe he did want to be here. The problem that I always had, too, with the idea of trading for Lou Williams and having him play for the Toronto Raptors this season, again, outside of all the logistics, which made it impossible, was who's he coming in for? Where's he going to play? Because you already have Fred VanVleet, who's emerged, as we just discussed. You like DeLon Wright as your defensive stopper. His shooting has been good, DeLon Wright, but I think we both agree that off the dribble, he's not quite the same. And he's also not as reliable as Fred or CJ Miles for late game when you do need that offense.
Yeah,
I think the only option would be is that if you moved CJ Miles and you're already thin at the wing and you're adding another guard.
If I'm the Clippers, I'm not doing the deal if Fred or DeLon isn't coming back the other way. So that is part of that issue taken care of. I think the main issue with Lou Will is that you knew he was going to want an extension in the Clippers when they couldn't trade him. Yeah. They signed him to a 3-year extension.
But that's the thing, though, is if you were Toronto, you would have been just trading for him as a rental.
Expiring contract. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's still held up. The Raptors never had any room for Lou Williams. They weren't going to be able to get it done. Again, we've got a couple of tweets coming in. We're going to get to those in a few seconds. Again, we're still going to have the phone call. Let's go to one of these tweets now. Let's just from Michael at Saliba1983. Says, I'm just about ready for PS, which is Pascal Siakam, over SI, Serge Ibaka, down the stretch of games. He brings so much more energy. His handles are better and better every game, and he's hitting a few threes right now.
Who'd you say tweeted that in?
This is Michael.
Is that your burner account?
I mean, it might as well be because I'm starting to feel the same way.
Starting to feel.
Dude, how do you defend at this point Serge Ibaka over Pascal Siakam based on what we've seen lately? And again, the one thing that you can always point to with Serge Ibaka is the three-point shooting and the fact that he can spread the floor and he commands respect from defenses. And we're going to do love and hate, which is something that we do on our podcast, Free Association. We're going to have a new one up tomorrow afternoon. But we have a segment, Love and Hate. I'm going to put Serge Ibaka actually in the positive aspect, but from the negative side of Serge Ibaka. He's having a really, really brutal March. And it only got worse tonight with another poor performance. But in March, Serge Ibaka is shooting 29% from three and only 38% from the floor.
Not good. I mean,
no, not good.
He did struggle tonight. He did get it going.
But that's the month. That's not this game. I'm not saying this is this game. This is this month.
Right. But you did say he had a poor performance tonight. He finished with 12 and 8 and hit a big three that got them back in the ballgame.
Sure,
but he wasn't unplayable.
But it was on 5 of 12 shooting. He did have that big three late in the game. He had a nice assist earlier in the game. I thought at moments of this game, though, he was unplayable. Again, Serge Ibaka still has the inability sometimes to just move the basketball, that he's still a ball stopper that takes those long twos and takes some pretty dreadful shots. And again, if we're talking about the Raptors' cultural reset and the team that they want to be in, the direction they want to go in, sometimes he's actually the dude who I look at and say, you're still taking those long twos. You're still stopping the ball. You're still making these super aggressive plays into traffic when you don't really have a game that's conducive to that. Like, no one really likes Serge Ibaka with a step back or Serge Ibaka's floater. Those aren't a big part of his games. He's not someone that is rushing the rim and throwing down jams over people. That's not Serge Ibaka. So we need to start seeing a little bit better from him. And for Pascal Siakam, on the other hand, that's 4 straight games with a three. He's 6 of 9 over those 4 games. I don't think he's going to be shooting 6 of 9, but if Pascal Siakam can start giving you 1, maybe 2 threes a game and take him limited spots where he's got his feet set and he's knocking him down from the corner like he has been, what about Serge Ibaka's game right now do you like more than Pascal Siakam?
Well, the key word is right now. Because for the balance of this year, Pascal has struggled from three.
Yep.
And for long stretches,
Went
at least just
whole month
just without hitting one. And for many stretches of this year, most of them early, Serge Ibaka was arguably your 3rd, 4th best three-point shooter. So that would be the argument historically. Now, right now, it's not bearing that out. So based on the data that you're seeing, Pascal Siakam does deserve to be playing in high leverage situations and in situations where you're against a team who's high screen and roll often, like the Clippers were. You feel much more comfortable switching and allowing Pascal Siakam to try and dance with Lou Will and show him some length rather than knowing that you have to go over everything with Fred and chase Lou Will, and then Lou Will is getting into the paint and pulling up for basically a free throw shot that is going to be nothing but net all of the time. I think defensively he gives you some better options. If it remains playable on offense, Pascal's the better facilitator, no question. Now that he's hitting his three-point shot, he gives you some room to play on their offense.
I'll just say this about the three-point shooting, though. Pascal is not a better three-point shooter than Serge Ibaka, even if these small sample sizes indicate that he's doing okay or he's doing a passable job at it. We all know that. We also know defenses will still respect Serge Ibaka's shot more than they will Pascal Siakam. With Pascal Siakam, he's always going to be the Andre Roberson of your offense, where teams are saying, oh, you want to put Pascal Siakam in the corner and we're going to let him shoot threes. We're going to look at every other option that the Raptors have on the floor and say, yep, no problem. What I like about Pascal, though, is if he does get that ability to start knocking it down semi-consistently, and I don't think this is going to happen for him this year, his handle has gotten so much better that if you're going to try to run on him or close out on him quickly, he's got the touch around the basket and the handle now to make some aggressive moves after a pump fake and take it in and score on you. So, yes, Pascal is getting a lot better as a player. I think you're seeing the level of trust Coach Casey has in him early in ball games. Again, 2 of the last 3 games, he was the first guy off the bench, and he slid in at the 3 spot. I think that they're experimenting with that. I think they believe that's going to be an option if they play a team like the Bucks in the first round, and they do, and the Bucks go big, and you want to see him with some size on Giannis Antetokounmpo because he's still that best option. I think you're still going to see that if the Raptors play the Cleveland Cavaliers and LeBron James, that Pascal Siakam is going to be the best option on LeBron. He's going to see heavy minutes against him, and maybe that does mean at the 3. And I think ultimately, Serge Ibaka is a guy who might need to see a little bit of rest down the stretch here, because again, those numbers in March are quite eye-opening. He's a player that we've said time and time again, he plays better when he's had rest. He does not perform very well on back-to-backs. I don't really see too much of a point of playing him in every single one of these games down the stretch. I think the Raptors will probably sit all their guys in the last game of the season, unless barring some, I don't know, if they really look at the Warriors and say, if we want to face them in the playoffs, we need this one win. But ultimately, I'd like to see Serge Ibaka starting getting some rest. I'd like to see Pascal Siakam a little bit more. And I hope Pascal Siakam continues to throw some threes up, because so far it's working for them. Again, going to get to some more tweets. I want to go to Thomas Patterson at TPatty89. Who's going to guard guys like Lou Williams late in games? Still hope for Norm. Hashtag SN Raps. This is the problem right now that we were just talking about a little earlier in the game. I don't necessarily know who that guy is. You could make the case that it should be Kyle Lowry on Lou Williams there, but he's just not quick enough. I think that Lou Williams is still going to barbecue Kyle Lowry, and you're still suffering from the same problem, which is the size. CJ Miles, if you want to have him on for his shooting, his defense, even though he's taller, he's not quick enough. He's going to get barbecued. OG Anunoby, as I mentioned earlier in the game, his defense has, I think, been a little bit overrated throughout the season because of that one performance against James Harden and the other one against Giannis Antetokounmpo, where the dude was excellent in those 2 games, but ultimately, I'll use the puppy analogy again, he still looks like he's growing into his body.
What's going on with you and puppies? Like,
it was National Puppy Day a couple of days ago.
Yesterday.
Do you know how much time I spend online looking at puppies? An absurd amount.
Too much.
Yes, way too much. Actually, I don't think there's too much time to look at puppies online. But I think that there's a problem there, because I don't know who that is. And Thomas brings up that name, Norm Powell. That's why they gave him the $52 million. They didn't give him $52 million because they didn't think he could defend perimeter players. He's still supposed to be your shutdown guy. The problem is if you ask any Raptor fan or any coach, who would you trust more at this point on the floor for their overall game? Norm Powell and his defense, or Fred VanVleet and everything he's doing for you? Again, the ball handling, the passing, the smarts, the toughness. There's really no justification for Norm Powell right now. Could I see a spot where Norm comes in where you just need one stop at the end of a game? Sure. But over a stretch like that against the Clippers where you need multiple stops and multiple scores, he's not getting in right now. He's not even close to being that guy.
Yeah, it would be FVV, Mr. Bet on yourself, Fred VanVleet. But the other thing is, I think you could see Norm in a spot like that if you're up by 6, if you're just trying to get stops. But when you're down 10, you're not going to Norm. And I think for similar reasons, another guy who I would have considered giving a look to, DeLon Wright. Again, if you're up 6, maybe that makes sense. But if you're down 10, I don't think it makes sense, because even if you get the stop, you still need to get buckets on the other end. And Norm definitely, and to a lesser extent, DeLon, aren't necessarily helping you in that area. Another 0-0-0 for Norm tonight.
We got a lot more coming up on Raptors postgame. Got to take a quick radio break. We're going to talk to Paul Jones later in the hour. More of your tweets, again, at J.D. Bunkis, at Donnovan Bennett. Use the hashtag SNRaps. And we're going to share our loves and hates from the game. That's next on Raptors Postgame on Sportsnet.ca and Sportsnet 590, The Fan. What's up to the streamers? The streamers are the dreamers. You like that?
No, I don't.
This is your proclaimed best beat of all time.
No, I say it's one of the best beats of all time, and that is factually correct.
There's so many good beats.
All-time killing. No. This is one of the best beats of all time.
Okay.
Got a little dance hall mixed with a little hip hop. It's beautiful.
So, Raptors lose. Bit of a stinker yet again. They've been pretty stinky overall lately.
What's worse?
No one's stinkier than DeMar DeRozan tonight. Well, and then Serge Ibaka as of recently.
What's worse for NBA fans? Sitting through that Clippers-Raptors game, or having to sit through 2 segments of Stormy Daniels on 60 Minutes to get to the Giannis feature.
You want the Giannis feature over the Stormy Daniels?
If you're a basketball fan, yeah.
You
prefer the Stormy Daniels feature? I think we know how that one goes.
Yeah, I want to see that for sure. I've already set my DVR for that.
Hand in your basketball card.
Hand in my basketball card?
Yes.
What's the Giannis Antetokounmpo feature going to be? He likes ice cream? Like, I don't care.
No, he rose from great tribulations and two different continents to become arguably the most well-rounded NBA player, and he gets better by the week?
Okay. I don't need I don't need that for my Giannis Antetokounmpo coverage. I got that covered. I'll use ESPN for that. I'll use Sportsnet.ca for that. I'll use CNN for my Stormy Daniels interview. Or what is it? 60 Minutes for my Stormy
That would be
Daniels.
on CBS, but
Yeah,
thanks.
either way,
Thanks for
whatever.
coming out.
It's all the same. Excellent game tonight, by the way. Duke, they're out. My bracket is officially dead. Both teams I picked to be in the finals. I'm terrible at brackets pretty much every single year. People always ask me for them on Twitter. What's your bracket? Are you going to share your bracket? You know what my bracket? My bracket's never good. I think the best I ever finished in the office pool is third, and it was a miracle because the group was very small. So, yeah, back to the Raptors, back to the tweets. Got one here from, who is it? From Eli. I think it's Ellie. Or Ellie. I think Eli. I bet you guys like Norm, Bebe, and Malcolm Miller want to play. Need to be considered in these types of matchups. Hashtag SNRaps. Again, Twitter handle at Alsic Elvis. I was a little surprised Lucas Nogueira didn't come in this game, to be honest with you. Jonas Valanciunas got in foul trouble early, and usually that's the MO for Dwayne Casey going to Lucas Nogueira. But I think the reason he didn't, if I'm trying to read the tea leaves here, is because the Raptors decided to go with more of a playoff type of look. They went with lineups that I think they staggered DeMar DeRozan in for a little bit longer. They chopped down some minutes from certain guys, and I thought they wanted to show a little bit of faith in Jakob Poeltl, who has been a little bit of the whipping boy from the front court standpoint anyways over the last few games. He's seen some limited minutes when Lucas Nogueira's come in. But, yeah, I was surprised especially when, one, JV was in foul trouble, but two, they threw in Boban, and they have DeAndre Jordan, a team that uses two conventional centers that are both really long guys, both really tough to defend. And I thought that the Raptors at times when they really needed some defense could have used a little bit of that length, that Lucas Nogueira length. So I was surprised he didn't get in. I don't think we're going to see any more of Malcolm Mitchell. I think that's over now. And yes, Norm does not get in this game, but again, it's getting really hard to justify Norm Powell playing in these ball games when the few minutes he gets, he still looks like he's pressing. He's still not knocking down his shot. He's still not locking down on defense. It's really tough to justify Norm. But yeah, I was surprised that neither he or Lucas Nogueira even got a minute tonight.
I think we will see some Malcolm Miller. I think we will see some Lorenzo Brown. I think the Nigel Hayes experiment is not over. I think Jerry Stackhouse would love to see them hoisting a G League championship. But I was surprised that, and it's a great point by the commenter, that they weren't thrown in there just to change the energy a bit. But we'll see as they've got a week and a half or so if those guys are back into the rotation.
Raptors radio analyst and just overall television. You find him everywhere. It's Paul Jones. And now you find him on Raptors postgame. What's up, Jonesy?
All good, guys. All good.
So it's tough because we don't want to seem like the sky is falling, but the Raptors now have had some pretty lethargic efforts, especially on the defensive end, for the last 5-6 games. And I wonder what you're reading into this.
Well, I mean, it's even during the 11-12 game win streak, you could see that there was an issue with them turning the ball over. And, turnovers lead to open court baskets. They lead to 3-on-1s, 4-on-2s, broken floor situations that you can't stop. And that's part of the defensive problem. And in the third quarter tonight, the Raptors were 7 of 22 with 5-6 turnovers. And then you start feeling the pressure of trying to score to stay in the game. That's the biggest problem. You're trying to, rather than getting a stop and then coming back after a stop and then coming down and getting a quality look, you're giving up a basket. Then you're coming down and it's like you're trying to get a 7-point play on one shot. It doesn't happen. So I think it's a little bit disturbing, the fact that, teams have been able to shoot the ball so well. And the biggest problem tonight came in the third quarter. Austin Rivers broke them down and got into the lane. And dribble penetration kills your defense, and it just absolutely wounds your rebounding. Like, it's just, you can't have both. And Austin Rivers got into the lane, and I heard you guys talking about the size and the length. They went big, which made it easier for a guy like Marjanovic to get rebounds. There's people chasing Rivers. big guys have to step up and rotate. It frees up Marjanovic to go get stuff on the glass. The Clippers are a very good screen and roll team. They're right with the Raptors in terms of scoring as the ball handler in screen and roll situations. So the defense really let Toronto down last night, and I think they just kind of took their foot off the gas once they got up by 18.
When you are trying to make a comeback, and when they got down 14, if Jonesy's the coach, would you throw out a Norm Powell, give some more extended minutes to DeLon Wright to get stops, knowing that those guys may hurt you a little bit on the offensive end?
Well, yeah, you do need stops, but then that's the other side of the coin, Donovan. The key in a comeback is run, hold, run, and you're playing defense all the way through. And when you're in the midst of the run starts on defense. You've got to get quality shots on the offensive end, and that was the problem. Like, you get a stop when you go down to the other end. You need a score. You need a quality look to score, and they weren't getting that. And do you put guys in the game who will probably get you a stop? But then what's it like at the other end? Do you have enough offense on the floor? And look, Dwayne Casey's been terrific at shuffling combinations this year to get the right people on the floor at the right time. But look, the Clippers, you got to give them credit. They were hungry. They had something to play for, and they won this game. I talked to Doc Rivers just a minute ago coming up from the locker room before I came on with you guys. He said, we should have been down 20 to 25 points. We got down 18, and when we saw a 7-point game at halftime, he said, he told Boban, I'm going to play you in the second half because, we were having problems with what they were doing. And, he pushed the right buttons and it worked. So Dwayne Casey has done a really good job all year of finding combinations. I just thought they had a tough time tonight.
And he's going to continue to try and find combinations in the front court. The way Serge has struggled offensively, would you play Pascal a little bit more considering he's starting to shoot from outside? It's a conversation we had, and we're up against the clock. So your thoughts?
I don't think you change things now. I think you maybe shorten the leash, shorten the rotation or change the rotation a little bit quicker. But I think you have to be mindful of heading into the playoffs and making sure guys are right from a psychological standpoint. You don't want to have questions or kind of, take shots at confidence right now at this point. So, yeah, stay with the same rotation. If a guy's not performing well, don't kill his confidence, but take him out of the game, maybe shorten the leash a little bit.
Hey, Jonesy, thanks for jumping on tonight. I hope that you had the PVR going for that Duke-Kansas game. I promise you that if you go home and you throw that on, you'll enjoy that a lot more than the Raptors were tonight.
Well, it is going, and I actually have the second half of Villanova to watch because I left for the arena around halftime. So
I hope you extended the DVR and no one spoiled it for you. Hey, buddy.
Of course.
Thanks again for doing this. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, great. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Paul Jones joining us on Raptors postgame. Yeah, again, Serge Ibaka in the month of March, 29% from three, 38% from the floor, 5 of 12 from the floor tonight. It's been woeful for him. And again, if he's a player that the main justification for him getting more minutes over Pascal Siakam is floor spreading, you might have to find something else because he has not been doing that lately. Want to get to one more tweet, and then we'll close with another thought. But this is from @FR09. FR, do you think CJ should sometimes relax instead of shooting nearly off every screen action? Sometimes the looks are bad, and he still shoots them over and over again. #SNReps.
No.
Nah. I'll admit this. I don't think that should happen, especially not when it's the bench units, and that's the most important offensive set, is making sure CJ Miles gets clean looks. CJ Miles has a clean look. He has the green light. That's what he was brought in for. There's no secondary skill that CJ Miles has that's anywhere close to what his three-point shooting provides you. He should be shooting him, and if he's missing, then he's shooting him, and that's all well and good. No problem with it. I will say this. It changes a little tiny bit when CJ's playing with the starters down the stretch and in the playoff games, just from the standpoint of if defenses start collapsing to him, I'm not sure I want to see CJ Miles heaving those three-point shots up that have a little bit of that have some congestion on them, or when other guys are open. Because when he's playing with the likes of Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan or Jonas Valanciunas, I think that those guys deserve a little bit more ball movement and deserve a little bit more of his consideration before he just green light throws those up. Would you not agree with that? Just a little.
If he can fire. That's why he's there. That's why he's there.
I just
if he can see the rim, shoot it, son.
Okay. One thing I definitely don't want to see is him dribble driving. Last things before we go. I want to do my love and hate. I want to give a little love to Serge Ibaka. My love for tonight was a Serge Ibaka pump fake at the three-point line. Again, got his respect in the second quarter, had the defender close on him, and started dribbling towards the basket. Normally, that's a recipe for disaster with Serge Ibaka, but instead of shooting a terrible floater or instead of turning the ball over, he kicked it back to DeMar DeRozan, who was wide open for a three-point shot, which he did not make. But still, the fact that he had the presence of mind to turn around and give him the rock, I really liked that. That was my love of the night.
I thought it was going to be when he put it on the floor, took a little crab dribble, and then hit a three as the defender blew by him. My love was DeMar DeRozan's 7 assists. The fact that he didn't have it going offensively, still was able to get in the lane, facilitate for others.
Late in the game, especially.
It's an evolution of his game that's beautiful to see.
I'm not going to do a hate, actually. Maybe we'll skip our hates because it was already a pretty negative night. I'll ask you this. I'll go out on this. We got 1 minute.
Mm-hmm.
Would you trade lives with Boban Marjanovic? I would not. He's the one NBA player I wouldn't trade lives with. He's, 7'4"? He's got huge hands. Just looks very uncomfortable. He just looks like a very uncomfortable human being. He plays in the NBA. He's a millionaire, but you got to think everything for him is just so difficult. He's not the best looking of guys. I think I'd rather be me. I think I'd rather be me than Boban Marjanovic. Just saying. I wouldn't trade lives. Too uncomfortable.
This may be taking the question too literal, but I wouldn't trade lives with most people because I like my life.
Wow. You wouldn't trade lives with LeBron James?
No, I like my family. I don't like being followed by paparazzi.
I'm on record right now saying I would trade lives with every single NBA player other than Boban Marjanovic. I would probably trade number 1 lives with Milos Teodosic because I think he parties. I look at Milos Teodosic. I'm pretty sure that guy's smoking cigarettes and drinking beers before the game.
Well, not to tell tales out of school, but the Clippers were out.
The Clippers were out?
The Clippers were out.
I'm shocked by this, and the Raptors still found a way to lose. Oof.
The Clippers were in Liberty Village, so
again,
they got a win on Saturday, and they got a win on Sunday.
The Raptors' 5-game trend of allowing over 115 points a game to their opponent continues as they lose to the Clippers 117-106. Again, we're back on the live stream Tuesday night against the Nuggets. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you tune in. And again, you can reach us always at J.D. Bunkis, at Donnovan Bennett. It's been fun. You're listening to Raptors Postgame on Sportsnet.ca and Sportsnet 590, The Fan.